I think highlights has definitely been whenever I've seen myself in an arena, like an actual arena, because over here they're also bigger than back home in Copenhagen, you know. I just did Meghan Trainor in Wembley Stadium. That was kind of wild, just because.
That's a big stadium.
Yeah, that's a big stadium, and also because I got to take it in. Like, I actually caught myself in a moment, because we did a set that was like 15-20 minutes, and like I got to walk down the catwalk. I got to like actually have a second where I like winked at everybody and like was like, yeah, just really taking it in, where I feel like usually you find yourself doing like a 3-minute piece of like a song and then out again.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you were there, but you didn't really take in the moment, where there I really found myself being like, shit, I see all the rows. I see everyone. Like, that was a quite big moment.
Welcome to Studio Sessions, a video series for creative performers. Each week we go behind the scenes on the shoots and sit down with guests to discuss their careers, the creative industry, and share the lessons they've learned along the way. Cool, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's today's shoot been for you?
It's been fun. Yeah, it's a long time since I've done like a studio shoot like this, so this was really nice. And
when was the last time you shot?
Like proper, maybe like, I feel like 2 years ago.
Wow.
And then I've just done like, you know, fun shoots, but not when it's been like proper in the studio. So it was time, and you're so easy to shoot with. So
thank
really
you.
Nice. Yes.
So for people who don't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Mille. I am 21 years old, and I'm a professional dancer, born and raised in Copenhagen.
So born in Copenhagen, what does that look like for like a dance career?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a reason why I come here a lot, and I've been seeking to London quite early on. I think industry-wise, I wouldn't really say we have an industry set up like we have here. I say we, because I feel like I'm a part of it now here in London. So for me, coming to London, it's a lot more exciting, and sometimes it feels a lot more proper in a way, if that makes sense, where I do have jobs back home, and I mean, I love those jobs, but it just feels a bit different industry-wise coming here to London. It feels, I think proper is like my word for it. Yeah, if that makes sense.
And like, going back to like the start of your career, what was it that kind of got you into dance at the start?
Yeah, I mean, I started dancing quite early on, I think since I was like 2 years old. So I've always been dancing. And then I think just the thing was like, when you come to the point where you actually feel stuff and you know what you're doing, like I actually fell in love with it, and I kept on doing it. And then, you know, like you see that people are doing it as a career, and that like kept me going as like, okay, there's an end goal. It's not just, I mean, it's always fun, but you know, like there's actually something I can do with this that I love and make it into my lifestyle.
Was there a moment that you kind of remember of being like, oh wow, that is something that I can actually do as a job?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I have like a specific moment, but I think just, you know, I was in the generation of like watching YouTube videos and like all the classes, but then actually, you know, going to concerts. And I think there's a switch where you actually see the dancers and actually recognize, oh wow, they're really doing it, you know? So I think it's more like that moment when you actually started to look at like dance every time it was there and like recognize and was like, oh my God, is that something I can do? So I think that's more like, I don't know what years, but you know, when I actually was like open up for the professional world of dance and not just competitions.
Yeah. What does education look like in Copenhagen?
So we don't have like as college. I know over here it's like 3-4 years, something like that. Well, this is only like a 1-year education, and you will see it in like dance schools that they set it up, or a owner set it up at a dance school. So it's like 1 year, then you get like a diploma. And the specific dance education I went to had a lot of international teachers, which was such a nice benefit, because you got to know people from all around the world who were students, but also big choreographers that are like working today or did work. Like you got to connect with them kind of one-on-one and have them. So I got so much different input on industry, but also just learning that I can put in like my backpack and take with me. So I did 2 years of that, even though it was only 1 year. So that was like my educational years. I think I was.
So how come you did 2 years?
I did it while there was like COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So I was kind of like, I mean, I didn't have to, but with that whole situation, I did 2 years, but felt like I got one in total. Yeah. So it was a bit crazy year to do it, but I still felt like I got what I needed from it and everything. Yeah.
So like coming to the shoot today, what was your first look and why did you bring that?
Yeah, I think I tried to go for like a more feminine touch on it because I love my hoodies and I love my hats, and I think I kind of usually go for the more like street stylish, like styling wise. So I was thinking like, okay, I gotta bring my heels, and then I kind of went from there, something more tight and buddy and hair out. So yeah, I just went from something very feminine to make sure I can show that side of me, because I love dancing in heels as well, and I teach that. So I also want to make sure I have that part and not only my more like street style.
Was that something you think was missing from your portfolio?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think if I also like maybe, if I do heels, then I like put a hat on anyway, or like a do backy. So I was definitely missing something that was like giving that, but still being true to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And in terms of like showing you as well, like how did you develop your dance style and how would you kind of define that?
Yeah, I think it took, so I will call myself more like a commercially dancer, if that makes sense, but with like versatilities of like the hip hop, and I mean, I've also done like jazz and technical, but not on like a high level, but I've trained it, and I think I just go to what I feel the most comfortable in, which is probably the commercial side, but not close myself too much to what you think is only commercial. So I bring what I like from the hip hop and what I like from the technique stuff, and like I put it in one. And I think I've always struggled with a little bit that I wanted to have like a special thing, you know, especially on educations or college, I guess. Like you see someone in the corner that's really good at like freestyle, and you're like, oh, I want to be good at freestyle and like the creative stuff. And like I've always felt kind of like mid, like I can do everything, but I would never be the best in anything, if that makes sense. So I think kind of getting comfortable into like, okay, I'm good at this, and then getting more confident and more developing that instead of trying to fake yourself too much in everything. And I think just like believing in what I have and really getting confident in that, make myself feel like, okay, now I have something because this is me, if that makes sense. So kind of just like not close yourself to like, oh, I want that and that, but look at like, okay, what can you do? And try build that up and like get confident in it, because then everyone is going to believe it.
Love that. So moving on to a second look from today, what was that? What made you bring that? Yeah,
I think I still stayed in like the feminine, and I wanted to, I went to just like the white, and then I kind of like how the shirt was like giving a little bit, but everything else was really tight, and I usually don't go tight on the bottom. So I also wanted to just give myself that little push of like, let's make it opposite of what I usually do. So and then I think just the white, I felt more very like this kind of angelic, like you said as well.
I think as soon as you put that on, I was like, so I've done a shoot before that's like, there's a picture on the wall in here that's like a fully black version. I was like, oh my god, this is like the flip side of that. Let's take this, like, instead of being really dark like my original one was, like a really bright angelic kind of like vibe. I feel like it just works so well for that as well.
It was really nice, and the hair out. So I tried definitely for those two first looks to stay in the more feminine and like give two kind of different versions, but still kind of the same vibe. I guess, because that's probably more me in that zone. Yes. Wow.
In terms of like commercial work as well, what kind of stuff have you done so far, and what's kind of been like a highlight from there?
I think highlights has definitely been whenever I've seen myself in an arena, like an actual arena, because over here they're also bigger than back home in Copenhagen, you know. I just did Meghan Trainor in Wembley Stadium. That was kind of wild, just because.
That's a big stadium.
Yeah, that's a big stadium, and also because I got to take it in. Like I actually caught myself in a moment, because we did a set that was like 15-20 minutes, and like I got to walk down the catwalk. I got to like actually have a second where I like winged at everybody and like was like just really taking it in, where I feel like usually you find yourself doing like a 3-minute piece of like a song and then out again. And like you were there, but you didn't really take in the moment, where there I really found myself being like, shit, I see all the bros, I see everyone. Like that was a quite big moment.
It's like thinking back to kind of like you being younger, like what do you reckon young you would think of you now?
Oh yeah, I think she would be gassed. She would be so excited. I think I think I've always tried to tell myself, like, it's possible, and not being like too much that's out of reach, but obviously still have things that's out of reach. But I feel like just that mindset of like, it's gonna happen has like got me more like wanted to push than if I put it too much as like something that's too far away and like not reachable. So I think she will be really proud, and I think she will be really, really excited.
Do you reckon you've always had that mindset of like thinking that it's possible for you?
I don't know if I've always had, but I think as soon as I put to my mind that like I want to be a professional dancer, I want to do this, I also told myself like, okay, then you're gonna do it, you know. But obviously I still have stuff where I'm like, this is so out of reach, but I really want to try to get there, you know. And then after that tell yourself, and you're gonna get there, you know. So it's always there in the back of your head, but like in a very humble way, obviously. But you know, like sometimes you just gotta like, you gotta plant those seeds in yourself to like actually get there, not make it too far away, because then you're always gonna train for it as like you're not gonna reach it at the end.
I think at some point you need to be content with where you are, otherwise you'll just never be happy. You'll always be like, you're never at that top moment. And I think if you only ever like aim for that, and you're only ever happy when you get there, you'll only ever be happy like once. Whereas if you can kind of like be proud of where you've gone in that journey and enjoy the process a bit more, I feel like there's so much more fulfilling. And also because like I think also now as like I've gotten older and more into the industry, like I can also be honest with myself and be like, am I at a place where like I could do that job? And then if I tell myself no, I'm like, okay, what do we have to work on to get there? Where like as a 16-year-old and you just got into the industry, or like 18, whatever, like you're very like, oh, I just want the next big thing. And I don't stop up and think like, am I ready for that? I just want it, you know, where it's like, I think now I'm very like, I'm just those 3 years older, and like I'm more, it'll happen, but when I'm ready and when that is ready for me, you know, like it's all a journey. So I think now I'm a lot more like content and a lot more enjoying the journey, where like those 3 years ago, like I just wanted everything to happen, which also like that's when you get a taste of it. That's where you want to just move on, and you think you have to show out, where like you don't. All of this is only for yourself. It's like, it's your journey, and we got time. We got a lot of time. So moving on to the third look from today, what was that, and why did you bring that?
I think that was the more like casual, like the very clean jean and a little top. And then, we put the hat on. I think that was a lot me, very much me. Like that would be more like if that was something I would like. I would love to have hats on if I could in like auditions, you know. But obviously I think it's more about showing yourself. But I think that would be a nice one to also show yourself in the portfolio, and just like the little backy and the hat, just having so they get the personality. I think that was it.
So like when you first came to London, how did you kind of like develop relationships, and how would you advise that people kind of network and build friendships in the industry?
So I did my first audition and job when I was 16 years old. So I was quite young, and I was quite like, because obviously you're not from there, and I didn't want to be shy, but I think just naturally there is this shyness. And from all the people I'm friends with now, they always say to me, oh, I thought you were so shy. And like, I'm very like, I want to be very outgoing. I'll say I am, but when you meet me on new, I can be quite shy. And I think for me, like coming alone every time did such a big deal, because I had to. Like I had to approach people, I had to talk to people. And also what you don't think about is that there will nearly always be someone like you in the room that hasn't met everyone, that only know one person. And like, I know from being myself in a room, like you really want to get to know people, but sometimes you don't know if you should approach or anything. And there's probably the same person in that room thinking the same. Like, because obviously you can also end in a room where everyone knows each other. They've done this job a lot of time. But then I think people are aware that like, okay, you may be new in on this job or working with these people. And like, I have an experience of people being very open and very like welcoming, as long as you're just also doing your part, obviously. So I think an advice would be like, I know it can feel quite scary, because it's like, oh, you got the job. Now there's more to the job. Now there's the social part of the job and like the rest of actually doing the job, you know? So it's not just one base, but I think it's just like you're there because you were meant to be there. So go off from that. Don't have any like, oh, I'm not going to approach that person because they've done it a long time and I'm just like me, whatever. I think it's just, just really like push yourself if it doesn't feel comfortable, because then it will feel comfortable after that.
And so like, say you're in that room not knowing anyone for the first time, how do you approach someone? What's your strategy?
Yeah, I think, well, there's always, it's fun. I think for me, like, I had to figure out all the slangs and like how people do conversations. I always had like, hi, how are you? And like finding out like, then I was like, shit, what do I say from here? But I feel like it's always like, you can talk about the job, you can talk about whatever, or it's just like a vibe. Like then you stand with the person, then you just whatever. Like I am actually, that's something I struggle to like today, is like conversation. Like how do I start conversation and how do I keep it going? But I think it's just like go out from the vibes. Like we're all dancers, we all know like
there's something
I feel like
common there.
There is something common there, and like there is just like, I would say like just a vibe between us. So just go out from it and let's not be too scared. And I'm saying that to myself as well, because I can still find that today, like when I meet new people, and like the same like uncomfortable but then it gets comfortable situation, you know.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. So moving on to the fourth look from today, what was that? What made you bring that?
Well, that was our more like that was more like just put together, you know? Yeah, very spontaneous. I think everything was quite white, so I think I was like, let's pull out the black.
The opposite way,
and I had some black trousers, and then we put the hair up, which was your idea, which was great to really give something different. So I think that last look was more like the needed different from all the others, which kind of had a little bit more same vibe, kind of, and we put out the hat and then now hair up. So the different that was needed for the portfolio, basically. Yeah.
I think the hair up was a really good idea, because I think we had a chat like Adam, and I was like, do you have hair up in your portfolio? And you're like, no. And I was like, well, someone somewhere is going to want to see that.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes you have to like step outside your comfort zone a little bit and kind of just go to what you know people are going to look for and what people are going to want. Yeah, exactly. How do you put together a look? Like, how do you kind of style something? Like, what's your process there?
Yeah, I think maybe with the fourth outfit here, it was quite plain. I wore sneakers with it, and I was looking at myself. I was like, what can I do to change it? And I think that's kind of how I always kind of think a little bit. If it's just jewel, if it's my hats, like whatever, that can just pimp it up a little bit. Because usually it's not like you have to have the most like neon green hoodie to make like the outfit or whatever, but it's like the small details that gives you that confidence in the outfit, which usually for me could be a hat, or it's like instead of wearing the same plain like black shoes, like put on the color there where you wouldn't. So I think I just kind of like to really like play with it. And I think also with like my dance style, I like to not think it's too basic, but where I can pop a little like a bra sticking out that's like a little bit more, or like the collared hat, or like whatever, just for myself to feel like, okay, I also have a personality going in, and I'm not just coming in like gray sweats, which I also can sometimes, you know, like for me it just gives such a difference of like how I also feel myself in the classes or on the jobs and the rehearsals. Like it's such a, for me at least, like a big part of like how I feel in the situation.
Do you feel like just kind of adding those little tweaks makes you feel more confident going into a room?
Yeah, for sure. If I feel like, oh, I'm not feeling it today, I put on my hat, I'm like, okay, but now I have this like other persona, or like I feel like me, but you know, like I kind of have this like, I feel like when I dance, I can add another shape to it, or, you know, like if you don't feel good in like your body, like you put on more oversized, and then you're like, oh, now I can just feel more free, or if it's like, today I want to feel hot, so I'm putting on something more tight. I feel like it's such a nice factor that you can just play with, and like the way I feel like I see difference in my movement when I play with that, it's just fun. I feel like it makes it so much fun. Yeah.
And like if you go into an audition as well, how do you kind of approach that?
Yeah, I think I try. Also nowadays, I was just in an audition, and it's just not that much of like overload anymore. Like I don't feel like I have maybe been in the era as well where it was like audition outfits. Now people just come in something black and tight and make it look nice. It's more about how you feel. Like I went to this audition with like, I tried, instead of going with like oversized joggers, I went with like these more like cut off joggers, what do you call that? Jorts kind of sweats in black, and then I had like a tight top. I was like, maybe that can make it a little bit more different. And I did see myself in the room be the only girl that like had in that way, but still made it true to myself of having a little baggy. So yeah, but I think for me in auditions is more about actually being comfortable, because when you're in like a situation like that that's more uncomfortable sometimes, like it's just nice to know that something is giving you. And then sometimes I also feel like my performance is a lot better than if I was out here in a very revealing, very uncomfortable situation where I would be like, shit, and then that will be how I dance. But obviously I'm still staying true to the form of like dressing up, like have the glam, have the top at least being something. But yeah, I feel like we are leaning into a more like comfortable era in that way, I think, yeah.
And like for auditions as well, like how do you kind of prepare for that kind of like mentally?
I think I try to, not build it up too much. Like when I went to this audition, like I flew in the morning of it. I tried to not make too much a big of a deal of it. Then obviously when I come there, I see everyone and it's like there, then I was like, okay, audition, go. But I really try as much as possible to not build up too much, or try to make it a more enjoyable thing of like, okay, I'm gonna pick an outfit, or have fun with like the getting ready part, if that is like what you need. But I think also try to enjoy the moment of like, okay, I'm at an audition. This is probably something, if you wanted to get into it, like you've wanted in a long time, and then take it as that first experience. I like to kind of build like jobs up, like you have the audition, okay, then you get it, then you show out at the job, then you have to learn everything and show out as well and like impress, and like then obviously we all know then there's lines, where do you want to go, like there will always be these like extra things that you can push yourself in on a job. And I think that's the same with the audition, like take it as the first part, don't think about what is coming on the other side. Obviously have that in mind when you have to perform it in the audition, but I think just like, okay, that's an experience. And then if you get the cut, that was an experience, instead of thinking what it could have been, which is so hard and easier said than done. But I feel like that is something I've tried to at least like stay in the now, instead of thinking of what is coming with that, if that makes sense.
And talk about what's coming, what is coming for you?
That is a good question. I think I'm quite open-minded. I'm here right now and I'm gonna do a job with all my friends, and that's gonna be quite exciting. But otherwise, I think I'm teaching a lot. I love that I get out and experience the world while teaching as well.
Yeah.
And then I just love coming back and forth to here from Copenhagen. But I think right now I'm not too stressed about what is coming. Obviously, you want to be booked and blessed and you want to do it all. But I think I'm just very content right now. I'm very like, whatever comes, comes. Whatever comes in my mailbox at some point. And then we'll see if that's what we're going to do. But yeah, I'm just chilling with it right now, I think.
And in terms of like teaching as well, how did you get into teaching, and like what is it about teaching that you're kind of like drawn to?
Yeah, I think I'm drawn to the actual teaching part. Like for me, I really like a compliment that means so much more to me is like when people are like, oh, you taught so well, or something like that, more than like, oh, that was a sick combo, you know, because everyone can make a sick combo, and there's so many people out there right now where I'm like, fuck, it's so good. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that, but like everyone is so great. But I think for me, I really love the actual teaching part, and I think that comes from the environment I had with education. I got to build up like how I taught and like that whole journey teaching the education, and knowing from being on education what that needed and what I wanted as a student. I think I tried to really develop myself with that thinking and listen to people whenever I taught them and stuff like that. And then now I just really enjoy it and love it. And I also love creating and like exploring like my style, and also not trying to like close too much of like, okay, this is what I've done, so this is what I'm gonna do, but try to like challenge myself a bit. And I also love teaching heels, so I think it's like I'm trying not to be too much just one, like this is the specific thing Millie does, but try to really just like do everything I love. And then it's the teaching part, in what way it is, that. I really just like the connection. Like,
yeah, I feel that's such a nice idea as well, because you're still like so early in your career, so like experimenting with different stuff. I think it's very easy to kind of have like a view of what our future's going to look like. We're like, this is my route, this is the path I'm going to take. But often, especially in the creative world, you'll try different things and then something else will just draw you, and you're like, oh, actually, this is the way I want to go with it. And you won't find that until you kind of explore and experiment.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's too early for me, I feel personally, and I know that can be different for everyone, but to lock myself too much of like one thing. Because I love commercial, I love training hip hop, I love doing heels, but like, why can't my style and my teaching be everything? And like, it's when I want to do the things, and then people that want to learn it want to come when it is. But I think I love exploring in different backs and in different styles, if that makes sense. But I know that everything I do is like staying true to still my style. I'm not trying to be anyone else, but I'm just doing all of those in like my own way. And I think the same with like, let's say like the career of like jobs commercially, like I'm quite open as well to not having it be the perfect picture of what I've seen it having to be, or like what I probably imagined that this is the journey and this is the only way I can do this, where like, I mean, it's 2024, soon 2025. I think there's so many different ways everything can come in. So I'm quite like just open to whatever's coming, and whatever's meant to be will kind of happen. Yeah.
Boom. Love that. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you.
It's been very good.
Yes. Thank you.
Boom.
Come on.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this episode, please share it. If you want to see more of these, click subscribe. And if you've got any questions or anything you want to ask, just drop them in the comments below. See you in the next session.